Welcome to Maddox News Live. We're doing this again. I know it's a late night stream, but there's a lot of protests and stuff going around the country right now, and I decided to do a live stream because this is the time to cover it. I mean, this is when all the breaking news is happening. Yes, Ziltoid, this is live. By the way, if you guys can hear me, let me know how the audio sounds. I'm kind of like testing this out, making sure everything sounds good. I'm doing this real time right now, so some of the audio might be kind of screwed up, but let's just check and see. All right, let me make sure the chat is on screen. Yeah, cool, I can see it. All right, let me know. How does the audio sound? Says this, let's see here. Audio is fine, says Min. Okay, audio is great, awesome. Let me know if the music levels or anything are too loud at some point. So today we're gonna cover the Breonna Taylor protests. I don't know if you guys have seen the news today. If you guys are total fucking morons, then you might have missed it. But let me show you guys what's going on in the news. So Breonna Taylor is somebody who was killed during during this police raid. I'm gonna read this story here for you just to get everyone up to speed and show you guys what's been happening. So Breonna Taylor was a first responder, and she was living in this house that was that the police raided a while back, and kind of like this no-knock warrant entry, right? And they entered this house and ended up shooting and killing her. Mixwell 1983 says Breonna's boyfriend got killed. Okay, so we're gonna talk about everything that's going on. I'll give you a brief rundown of the Breonna Taylor situation, but before we do that, I'm gonna wait until we get some more people in the chat so we can actually talk about this, because I really want to discuss, I think, the bigger picture view of what's going on here with all the protests and everything going on right now. So just to get you guys up to speed, here's what's been going on around the web. Like, people are posting this protest footage. Let me know how this audio sounds. Should be okay. Okay. So a lot of people are chanting and protesting. Here is something that I really want to talk about. Okay, this is from ABC News. It says, the police said 2 officers were shot during demonstrations that erupted after a Kentucky grand jury indicted 1 officer for allegedly endangering the neighbors of Breonna Taylor during the police shooting that resulted in her death. To get you guys up to speed, I'm going to read this story here. This is pretty wild. I couldn't believe when I read this. No, that's something we're going to read in a minute. Okay. This is from WDRB.com, and if you guys haven't heard the entire story here, if you guys haven't heard the entire Breonna Taylor story, this is an eye-opening article. I highly recommend you check it out. Breonna Taylor's story is being told here on WDRB.com. Look up the story to read the whole thing yourself. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read just enough so you guys get an idea of what happened here. So, and by the way, I hadn't even read this story until a couple weeks ago. I saw a bunch of stuff, people protesting about Breonna Taylor. I didn't know the full details of this case. This story is pretty wild, and I'll read it in just a second. Old Blue says, no-knock warrants are ridiculous, but they knocked in this case repeatedly. Oh, okay, cool, Old Blue. What does that mean? So what? So they knocked so they can bust into your house and just shoot you dead? So let's talk about this. It says here, drug suspect offered July plea deal if he would admit Breonna Taylor was a part of an organized crime syndicate. All right, read that headline again. Think about what they're offering here. Really think about what this headline is saying here. All right, I don't know why this isn't an open and shut case after you see stuff like this. So here, I'll scale it up so you guys can read along with me. All right. Louisville, Jamarcus Glover, the focus of a series of Louisville police raids, including one in which officers shot and killed Breonna Taylor, was offered a plea bargain last month if he would say that Taylor was a member of his organized crime syndicate. Records show. All right, so this guy is saying here, let me show you. I'll read some of the comments in just a minute. If you guys, I'm probably going to miss it when I'm reading this stuff, so just keep spamming it and I'll read it eventually. Okay, so they're saying here that they offered him a plea deal, right? He was offered a plea bargain last month if he would say that Taylor was a member of his organized crime syndicate. As part of the July 13 offer, Glover was to acknowledge that over a period of time through April 22nd, he and several co-defendants, including Taylor, engaged in organized crime trafficking large amounts of drugs into the Louisville community. Okay? So they're coming to this guy who's in jail for all this shit, and they're saying to him, hey man, if you rat out Breonna Taylor, if you include her, and if you just give us a confession that she was part of your organized crime syndicate, then we'll give you a plea deal. Because they wanted to catch, well, first of all, this happened after, okay, July 13. Breonna Taylor, when was Breonna Taylor killed? Let's find out. Breonna Taylor killed. Because that plea bargain came in July 13th. So Breonna Taylor was killed March 13th, okay? So 4 months after she was killed, the defense came over and they said that as part of the July 13 offer, Glover was to acknowledge that over a period of time through April 22nd, he and several co-defendants, including Taylor, engaged in organized crime by trafficking large amounts of drugs. So this is after the fact. They're coming to this guy in jail and they're saying, hey man, just give us a confession that Breonna was part of your crime syndicate, because they need to justify this police force. They need to justify this excessive force. They need to justify having killed her, right? So this is really fucking shady. I can't believe this article didn't make bigger headlines. Look at this thing. This came out August 31st. Let's read more. It says, Glover, a convicted felon with a history of drug trafficking, turned down the plea deal offer from the Jefferson Commonwealth Attorney's Office. It would have resulted in a possible 10-year prison sentence on charges of criminal syndication, drug trafficking, and gun charges. Okay, so this guy, Jamarcus, this is the guy that he's already in jail, right? They caught this guy trafficking drugs or whatever. Here is where the story gets a little bit complicated. Now, Jamarcus and Breonna Taylor used to date. And so that's why there is any kind of connection to Breonna Taylor, right? Why are they going after Breonna Taylor? Why was there the no-knock warrant? It's because she used to date Jamarcus, right? And they were trying to assess the likelihood of her house trafficking drugs or having guns or any of those type of things. And you see at the end of the article here, they talk about this. They talk about the likelihood of a house being like a drug house or a gun house, or what kind of risk it poses to the community, right? So it says here, Glover insisted that the only thing tying him to Taylor was that she bailed him out of jail previously. All right, this is Jamarcus Glover. I don't understand how they're going to serve a warrant for Bree's house, bruh. Glover says to one man, how is it that they serve a warrant for the Bree's house and nothing tied me to Bree's house at all besides these bonds? The discovery in the Glover criminal case includes a police risk assessment of a raid of Taylor's home, which evaluates factors such as weapons, lookouts, and the criminal history of people believed to be inside. Okay, so this is how they evaluate whether or not there is a risk to the community. They look at those factors, right? Weapons, lookouts, and the criminal history of the people believed to be inside. The Springfield Drive apartment was given a 15, making it a low-risk house, right? So they give it a score on like 0 to 100. They gave that house a 15. Officer Mattingly told police investigators after the shooting that Taylor was a soft target who was thought to be alone in her apartment. Another home raided that night on Muhammad Ali Boulevard, for example, had a score of 88. All right, so by all accounts, they raided the wrong fucking house. By their own internal assessment of Breonna Taylor's house, they rated it a 15. So I don't understand, like, the reason people are upset, and I think rightly so with this whole incident, because the police were found to be not guilty. By their own internal assessment, in this article, they rated Breonna Taylor's house a 15, and they had houses that were like 88 that same night that they raided. So they say here, they even admitted here, they acknowledge here that this was a soft target situation. So that's part of the reason people are upset. Let me read some comments. Blaze says, hey man, her house was on nice land. The city wanted it. Okay, stupid. Let's see. Ant Coaster says, holy shit, Maddox is live. That's right. Misanthropic says, I want to hear about how her record fits or doesn't fit with what's being talked about in this article. Okay, let's read it. Let's read the article, Misanthropic. We're going to read this entire article. I want to read what's going on here and tell you guys exactly what this whole Breonna Taylor situation is about, okay? So, again, if you're just joining the stream, there's a guy named Jamarcus Glover, who's the focus of a series of Louisville police raids, including one in which officers shot and killed Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor is her ex-girlfriend. Excuse me, is his ex-girlfriend, right? He was offered a plea bargain last month if he would say that Taylor was a member of his organized crime syndicate. That's the defense trying to grasp for anything they can get. They don't have enough fucking evidence. They shouldn't have to get this after the fact. After she was killed, they're coming to this guy in jail, her ex-boyfriend who was in jail, who she hasn't had any contact with, anything to do with in, I think, at least almost a year or more since he went to jail. She has nothing to do with it. She was dating a new guy at the time. And I'll read the article and we'll go on here. Blaze says, Maddox, on that same news website, there's an article titled, Attorneys Claim Breonna Taylor Raid Was a Result of Reckless City Plan to Revitalize West Louisville. Okay, interesting, Blaze. All right. Maybe I misspoke. Maybe I spoke too soon by calling your comment stupid. All right. I will reserve judgment of that comment until I read it a little bit further. So we'll hang on here for a second. Okay. Let's read this on. Let's go on to reading this article. Okay, so Glover, Jamarcus Glover, a convicted felon with a history of drug trafficking, turned down the plea offer from Jefferson Commonwealth's attorney office. Would have resulted in a possible 10-year prison sentence on charges of criminal syndication, drug trafficking, and gun charges. If he had taken the plea deal, Glover could have possibly been released on probation instead of serving prison time. That decision would have been up to the sentencing judge. The crime syndicate organization, according to the plea offer obtained by WDRB News, sold drugs mainly from abandoned or vacant houses on Elliott Avenue in the Russell neighborhood. Taylor lived about 10 miles away in an apartment on Springfield Drive. Okay, so this is not even the same neighborhood. It's 10 miles away. That's that's a significant amount of distance between these two neighborhoods, right? Attorney Sam Aguiar, yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced. Attorney Sam Aguiar, who represents Taylor's family in a wrongful death lawsuit, claims the plea offer shows the lengths to which those within the police department and Commonwealth's attorney went after Breonna Taylor's killing to try and paint a picture of her which was vastly different than the woman she truly was. All right, who was it in the chat room? Somebody said they want to read and understand like what's going on, like what about Breonna Taylor's character. This is going to get into it right here in this article. All right. The fact that they would try to even represent that she was a co-defendant in a criminal case more than a month after she died is absolutely disgusting, and I fucking wholly agree with this. All right, really just let that sink in for a second. You have these police officers who bust into someone's house, kill somebody who was the wrong suspect, without finding any evidence of the thing that they were looking for. And then after the fact, they're trying to scramble and cover their bases. They're trying to cover their tracks. And they're trying to tie her to some criminal syndicate, right, that they didn't even have evidence for before they killed her. This is how fucking corrupt this case is. And this is why people are protesting right now. It's important to cover this right now because we need to talk about this as a pretext for what's going on in the world right now. You're going to see a lot of BLM protesters. You're going to see a lot of people who are, really upset, and I think rightly so, once you understand the facts of this case. And this WDRB article is great. You got to read it. It's just a wild, wild ride. Okay, defense attorney Scott Barton, who represents Glover, said that he received several plea offers from prosecutors. Although one of them contained Taylor's name, the most recent offer and others did not, he said. And this is the attorney trying to backtrack here. So the attorney said that the initial plea offer they offered to Jamarcus was an early draft, and they didn't really mean it. It's like, okay, man, you did, but he didn't. He turned it down, and so that's why they're kind of backtracking now. They're saying, oh no, that was just an early draft. I'll go on and read here. Let me read some of these comments here. PK Longotube says, how the freck can USA claim to be the land of the free when the state can burst into our house and just shoot you like that? Look, to play devil's advocate, mistakes can happen, but this is one of those things. Like if this is a mistake, which clearly it looks like it was, or maybe it might have been corruption, who knows? Who knows what's going on with these police forces? There's not a lot of transparency with this shit going on, which is another problem with police accountability in this country. I've been working on a video for a long time now that I've been wanting to address all this BLM shit and talk about it for the first time, you know, in the way that I should, like a good scripted video that discusses all of this with details and evidence and really lays it out. It takes fucking forever. But anyway, one of the solutions to this is police accountability and transparency. We don't have a lot of transparency here, so it's hard to tell what the motives were for the police officers here. They say it was this drug bust, but was it? Was it corruption? I mean, somebody, who was it in the chat room? Was it? No, it wasn't Hugo. Someone in the chat room just earlier said that they were looking for taking over some land in Louisville, right? Okay, so let's keep reading on, because we'll get to that a little bit later. Like it's irrelevant for the point that I'm gonna make in just a minute. But let's just keep reading for a second. So here it is. Here's that statement I was saying where the Commonwealth attorney said that the statement that the offer that included Taylor was a draft and part of a negotiation with Glover and his lawyer. Okay, so anytime they offer some kind of like plea bargain like this, you know, until it's accepted, they can say technically it's a draft, right? Everything's a draft until it's accepted. Syntax error says, sometimes it needs the genius of everything to clear shit up. Damn right, syntax error. Okay. Wine said his office was aware of information, including jail phone calls in which Mr. Glover implicated Miss Taylor in criminal activities. When I was advised of the discussion, out of respect for Miss Taylor, I directed that Miss Breonna Taylor's name be removed. Out of respect for Miss Taylor, sure. Except you're the one proposing this fucking plea deal with this criminal who's in jail to try to, after the fact, implicate Breonna Taylor in a drug syndicate that she had nothing to do with. The final plea sheet provided to Mr. Glover's counsel is attached and clearly does not include Miss Taylor as a co-defendant, he said. Okay, that's fine, because he rejected the plea deal. That's why it doesn't include her name in it. He rejected the deal, so of course you're not going to include her name in it, because that's the deal he rejected. Jamarcus Glover is the criminal in jail who was caught with this drug shit, right? Wine said Glover's final offer was withdrawn after he failed to surrender to the court. Wine also criticized Aguiar, who posted... Oh, well, okay, so if it was withdrawn after he failed to surrender to the court, maybe that's a different case. But either way, it wasn't in the final plea deal that was offered to him because he rejected it. Wine also criticized Aguiar, who posted a screenshot of the plea deal on Facebook on Monday and reiterated that it was a draft. In response, Aguiar said that the plea isn't characterized as a preliminary and is literally verbatim recitation of the plea sheet that lists her under co-defendants. The plea was obviously presented to Glover and his attorney, Aguiar said. Other attorneys who spoke to WDRB News about the issue said all plea offers are drafts until they are signed. No shit. I mean, what is a plea offer that's not signed? What is it? What do you call that? It's nothing. It's a piece of paper. Everything's literally a draft until it's signed. Every single contract is a draft until it's agreed upon by both parties, by whatever parties that are going to be bound to that contract. They have to sign it, otherwise it's a draft by definition. So this is all bullshit. This is them just spinning their wheels. Louisville defense attorney Ted Schaus, who formerly worked for the Kentucky Innocence Project, said that the strategy seems to have been to destroy Breonna Taylor because she is destroying them. And they want Jamarcus Glover to do it for them because their efforts have failed. So they offer him a bribe, basically. All you have to do is smear her. Do you guys understand the full implications of what's going on here? Like how powerful this article is? This is absolutely fucking bonkers that this came out and it's not every single headline. They tried to smear her after the fact. She was killed. They were trying to find anything they could to tie something to them, right? Thank you for following, Fantastic Frog. They're trying to find anything they can to stick, right? Because they couldn't find anything else. So after she got killed, they're going in here and trying to find some evidence, right? In the final version of the plea offer, according to Wine's press release, Glover still was to state that co-defendants used Taylor's apartment to store proceeds from the trafficking operation. Because they need justification to have entered her house. Because it doesn't look good that they killed an innocent woman, so they need to say, oh, well, we were justified in entering her house, but they weren't. The plea agreement also called for Glover to acknowledge that the person living at Taylor's apartment was handling all his money. Okay, that's the plea agreement. They're asking this guy, Jamarcus Glover, her ex-boyfriend, to say that she was handling his money for him, right? That would tie her to some kind of drug trafficking. But that didn't happen. Glover has said repeatedly in recorded jail phone calls and an interview with the Courier-Journal that Taylor, a former girlfriend, was not involved in any drug operation and questioned why police would raid her home. Now, this is a guy who's in jail, who is her ex-boyfriend, and has nothing to lose. He could get out of jail by just saying that this woman, this ex-girlfriend of his, who has moved on and is dating a new guy, he could just simply get out of jail by saying that she did it, right? So for a criminal to uphold this standard, this principle, he's saying, no, she wasn't involved at all, at the expense of his own freedom, is really powerful. Really think about that for a minute. This criminal who's in jail could have gotten out if all he did was say Breonna Taylor was implicated, but he didn't. In one recorded jail call, Taylor said officers didn't have no business looking for me at no Bree house. All right. At the end of the day, I know she didn't deserve none of this shit. Though, he said, according to the call, which is part of the evidence in the criminal case, other co-defendants identified the plea offers besides Taylor, including Demarius Bowman, Dominique Crenshaw, Adrian Walker, Rashawn Lee, Anthony Taylor II, and Alicia Jones. Lee said okay, so these are other co-defendants, right? Lee said in a recorded jail phone call that it ain't got nothing to do with them up in there, nothing. In another jail phone call, Bowman claimed the money is in her name, referring to Taylor. Police sought out a search warrant for Taylor's home as part of the broader investigation that focused on drug suspects Glover and Adrian Walker. Police believed Glover may have been using her apartment to receive drugs and store money. Glover also used Taylor's address as his home address on a bank statement, which was observed by police picking up a package from her apartment in January before driving to a known drug house, according to the search warrant and affidavit. Okay, so this is okay. Now we're actually getting into something here where you could try to make the case that the police had reasonable suspicion, right? They had like some kind of reasonable suspicion to enter her house or raid her house or whatever. So they're saying that Glover, Jamarcus Glover, used Taylor's address as his home address on bank statements and was observed by police picking up packages from her apartment in January. I mean, he was picking up packages. Doesn't mean he was picking up drugs. Especially since they don't have evidence for it. It's kind of normal to use someone's home address, especially if you're homeless. Police shot and killed Taylor during an undercover raid in her apartment near Pleasure Ridge Park. She was struck 5 times, according to her death certificate. Okay, her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, admitted to firing at police as they entered the apartment, but claimed he believed the officers were intruders. He allegedly struck Officer Jonathan Mattingly. All right, well, of course. You live in a country where everybody's encouraged to have guns to protect their homes and their residents, right? So when somebody enters your home late at night and it's dark and you're in bed, you get up, of course you're going to grab your gun, you're going to rush to the door, and you're going to assume that the person inside your house is an intruder. You're going to start shooting at them. And I don't think it's enough for the police to announce, we're police, because literally anyone can announce that. Anyone can just barge into someone's house and say, hey, police, don't shoot, we're police. But they can say anything they want. Like, you can't see anything. You need some kind of identification. So this guy, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, obviously, but this guy shot at the police because he didn't know that they were police. You wake up 3 a.m., 11 o'clock. I don't know what time this happened. I think it says in the article. But you wake up late at night, someone's inside your house, you're probably going to shoot towards them, right? I mean, you might. You might fire warning shots, who knows? In the search warrant affidavit filed before the raid of Taylor's apartment, police say they believed Glover could be keeping drugs and money at her home. All right, they said they believed that. But there's no evidence. In a jail call after the raid in which Glover said Taylor was hanging on to my money for him, he claimed that she had about $14,000 and he could walk into her home and find it. Okay, so this is interesting. In a jail call after the raid in which Glover said he was... Okay, she had the 8 I gave her the other day, and she picked up the other 6, Glover told an unidentified man. And Glover did say, while trying to find enough money to post bond, that Taylor was hanging on to my money for him, according to the phone calls obtained by WDRB. Aguiar said that the two dated until mid-February. Just because a woman has an off and on relationship with a bad guy doesn't mean she deserves a death sentence, or give law enforcement a reason to beat down her door in the middle of the night with no probable cause. All right, I mean, even if she had his money, it's not necessarily drug money. You don't know what the situation is. I don't think that's probable cause. Like, drugs are illegal. Handling someone's money for them, which you're gonna find out later on that wasn't even the case, isn't illegal. And Aguiar noted that no drugs or money were found by police at Taylor's home. And you bet your ass that they scoured that apartment from top to bottom, because they needed that evidence. Someone was killed, an innocent woman was killed, and they needed that evidence so badly that they're offering this guy a fucking plea deal. So they entered her house, scoured the place after they killed her for an ounce of drugs or money that belongs to this guy. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, they couldn't find shit. A search warrant from March 13th that shows items police seized from the apartment, such as cell phones and shell casings, does not list any money or drugs. Wow, surprise! Sorry we killed you. We couldn't find the drugs or money we were looking for. But let's offer the guy a plea bargain, right? To say that she had that stuff anyway. GE says she wasn't innocent, Maddox. Okay, well, what are you saying, GE? Where's the evidence? Hold on, GE, let me read your bullshit comments. GE says, except they were both drug dealers. There is proof of that. This article is wrong. Where's the proof, GE? Send me a link. Show me the proof, and I'll read it. I'll keep an eye out, GE, if you can send me any evidence. Sounds like bullshit. Glover later told his girlfriend... by the way, GE, if you think that they were drug dealers and there's proof of that, then why are they offering Jamarcus Glover a plea bargain? Huh, dipshit? If they have evidence that Breonna Taylor... This is, by the way, 4 months after she was killed. 4 months after she was killed, they're still looking for evidence, and that's why they offered him a plea bargain. Isn't it? I'm still waiting for that link. So if you got the link, I'll read it. But I don't think so. Because they wouldn't offer a plea bargain to this guy if they had evidence that she was a drug dealer. They wouldn't need to. They don't need to go to this criminal and beg him for a plea deal or offer him a plea bargain if he confesses that she was a part of his criminal syndicate, right? Apostolos, what's up, man? Says, the incident happened around 1 a.m. Shooting at the intruders is justified at the time of night, especially since they entered in unannounced. I agree. If someone enters your house at 1 a.m., what the fuck are you going to do? Of course you're going to assume they're intruders. All right, GE says let me read this. The New York Times reported on it. Even they admit that she was heavily involved. Obviously, they tried to orbit it as she got involved with the wrong boyfriend, but she made her choice. She was a drug dealer. Where's the fucking evidence, GE? You can just cite the New York Times, but where's the fucking link? I want to read this. Where's the actual evidence? Because this contradicts everything you're saying. This article right here says they offered this guy a plea bargain if he would confess that Breonna Taylor was part of his crime syndicate. She wasn't. This is 4 months after she was killed. They're offering her a plea bargain. Unless you're saying this entire article is fabricated. You're full of shit. Send me the link and I'll read it. Glover later told his girlfriend that she was giving money to Taylor for a phone bill. that he was giving money to Taylor for a phone bill. Okay, there you go. That's not probable cause. You're allowed to give money to someone to pay your phone bill. The shit that I was putting in the bank, though, it'd be phone bill money, Glover said. It'd be phone bill money. It'd be whatever, like, shit, I ordered shit offline. There ain't never been no money. There ain't never been what they was trying to make that shit out to be. And then, like, as far as the money go, I was sending Bree. You literally don't see her pay the AT&T them phone bill. So he was giving her money for an AT&T bill. GE says the police knocked and announced themselves. There were multiple neighbors who witnessed it. GE, what the fuck aren't you understanding, dipshit? Okay, here we go. Throwawk donated $1. Thank you. Says Taylor was at fault. Read the full report. Okay, and your link is a Twitter link. Let me see. Okay, this looks like it's some conservative like Twitter link. Let's see what this is. Let's see what you're sending me here. Oh, this is here. We're gonna hang on a sec. Let me add this. Okay, your source is a Twitter link. All right, let's read this Twitter link by Brandon Tatum. Let's see. Okay, here. Let me add this to the screen here. I'm gonna read this real quick, and we'll go back to the rest here. Okay. Here is your source. It is a tweet. Okay, let's see your tweet source. Okay, and I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna give it a chance. All right, Brandon Tatum is the link you sent to. Looks like he's a Trump guy. Surprise, surprise. So this is political. Obviously, he's political. He's an ex-police officer, father, man of God. Says truth about Breonna Taylor for the media that will. Okay. What kind of fucking dumbass are you, man? Anytime you see shit like this, doesn't the set... Okay, I'm going to read it. I'm not going to just dismiss this offhand. I'm going to read it. GE, I don't know what to tell you, man. Send me a link if you can, or do it like the way Throwthawk just did. But this, anytime you read a link that says the truth about Breonna Taylor, the media will never report, it sounds like a fucking conspiracy theory, doesn't it? Let's go ahead and read this bullshit. All right. Or maybe not bullshit. Let's just read it. On the Tatum report. All right. This guy, the Tatum report. Shocking report leaked in Breonna Taylor death investigation shows how involved she really was. Oh, okay, Tatum report. A Tatum report exclusive. Who is Tatum? Who is this guy? All right. Look at this. This is a fucking paragraph. Okay, let's read this. Tatum report. Let's read this whole thing. Okay. An anonymous source. Oh, okay, starting off strong. An anonymous source. An anonymous source has provided the Tatum report with new, stunning, and detailed information regarding the Breonna Taylor death case. The new information was obtained by the source directly from the police investigation of Breonna Taylor's death that has yet to be released to the public. Oh, got it. Wow. This is dynamite evidence. So somebody has some anonymous information, right? An anonymous source that hasn't been released yet to the public on the TatumReport.com. Let's read on. This new information could completely change the direction of the case. Could. Will it? No. But it could. By the way, this came out August 31st, the same day as this WDRB article. All right. This never-before-released complete investigation from LPD includes surveillance images and recorded phone calls between Jamarcus Glover, Breonna Taylor, and others on the warrants, and shows just how involved Taylor was in Glover's drug enterprise and why the police were at her house in the night of the death. Okay, well, that contradicts the WDRB article because the WDRB article actually has the transcripts of those phone calls, doesn't it? I just read the transcripts of those phone calls. Many celebrities and media outlets have portrayed Taylor as totally innocent in all of this, but the transcript paints a different picture. No, it doesn't. We just read the transcript. This guy's a liar. Tatum Report is a fucking liar. We just read the transcript. Let's see if maybe he has different transcripts. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to dismiss this. Throwak, I'm going to read your source, okay? I'm not just going to dismiss this. Let's read your fucking source. The Tatum Report has provided the complete report that was obtained from the source below, the anonymous source. Let's make that clear. Private information from the phone numbers and Social Security have been redacted. Breonna Taylor report, 39 pages. Please click the following link for the report. Note, if the report is being viewed by too many people, you may have to come back. So all he's doing is linking to the report that I was just reading. And this is, I assume, the police report, right? Okay. This is the police report with, I assume, the transcripts. Let's see if we can... I mean, this isn't the fucking shocking killer evidence that he was saying it was, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Here, let's zoom in on this thing. No, I don't think that's gonna work. Can you guys see that shit? No, I don't know, it's getting weird. Let me see if I can zoom in on this thing a little bit, because otherwise we won't be able to read this. Oh, there we go. All right, PBI team had LMPDs. So this guy, the Tatum report, this source that you sent me, thank you for sending it to me, by the way. I know I'm shitting on it, but at least we have something, right? So the Tatum report just linked to this police file, which WDRP was citing. WDRP, right? Jamarcus Glover says, call on Facebook and see what the fuck Doug at. He got my fucking money riding around in my motherfucking car, and he ain't even where he's supposed to be at. Okay. These are all like the prison phone calls. So we can see some of this stuff here. It is important to note that from January 1st, 2016 to January 3rd, 2020, so the course of 4 years, Breonna Taylor's phone number was called 48 times from jail. Unfortunately, several of the calls are no longer available to listen to, and when the number is called from booking, it does not provide an inmate's name. However, once the inmate is booked and assigned to... Okay, so Jamarcus Glover called Breonna Taylor 26 times from his dormitory, and a male by the name of Curtis Palm called Breonna Taylor 7 times from his dormitory. Curtis Palm has a conviction for possession of a controlled substance, cocaine, in 2016, as well as a history of other felony convictions. Okay, so over the course of 4 years, this person called 48 times, right? Jamarcus. The Tatum report just links to this police report. I mean, this is 48 pages. I'm not going to have time to read all this. I'll flip through this and see if we can find anything here. But he didn't post anything, any of this like damning information he claimed that he had. He didn't post any of it. He just posted the police report. And I'm looking at it right now, and I just don't see any of these quotes that show the evidence. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Twitch13 says, dude, didn't you get the memo? Credible journalism doesn't hold a candle to alternative news anymore. Yeah, I mean, this is looking like some bullshit, I think. Internet God says she was very popular with the convicts. Internet God, I don't know where you've been for the last fucking, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so, but we established that she used to date this guy, right? This guy, Jamarcus, who is in jail, was her ex-boyfriend. Let's keep reading. I mean, look, man, this is just the fucking police report. He doesn't provide any evidence. Your evidence is a fucking tweet. You lose. This is garbage. This Tatum report is garbage. This Tatum report looks like a fucking... I hate to use this word, but there's no other word for it. He's a fucking grifter. He's like just hopping on the bandwagon of all this shit. He's not... This is not original reporting. He's just linking to a police report. This is not a news source. This is just a fucking tweet. Get a better news source, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Get an actual news source. Show me the fucking evidence. Show me the fucking evidence, and then we can talk. But this is not a news source. This is a tweet. Don't send me fucking bullshit tweets as news sources. Send me an actual fucking credible news source. Otherwise, we're just wasting our time here. Gaming in General says the New York Times article that I found cites the following articles regarding her involvement. Okay, what's the article? Throwox donated, says, I got from the Donald.win. Maybe you can check this out. The Donald. I'm not clicking on that. I'm not clicking on that. Damn, I wish BLM could. Wow, yeah, I'm not clicking on that. Okay, in another phone call he made from jail. So this article here, WDRB, does actually have it does actually have some of the transcripts from the phone calls, from the jail phone calls. Unlike that fucking Tatum report bullshit that you just sent me. All right, let's keep reading. Enough of this bullshit. I'm not going to read your garbage sources, unless it's a real source. In another phone call made from jail on the same day, Glover told his sister that another woman had been keeping the group's money. Glover asked why, if the police had been watching him from before the arrest, as he claims the officers told him, they raided Taylor's home close to 1 a.m. That is a good question. Glover insisted that the only thing tying him to Taylor was that she had bailed him out of jail previously. I don't understand how they're going to serve a warrant to Bree's house. Glover said to one man, how is it they serve a warrant for Bree's house and nothing tied to me, to Bree, at all besides those bonds? So she bailed him out at one point, otherwise they don't have any connection, it sounds like. The Discovering Glover criminal case includes a police risk assessment of Okay, so here's where we're back to the end of this article here. This is really important. Remember this. A Discovering Glover criminal case includes a police risk assessment of a raid of Taylor's home. So the police internally, anytime they're going to raid somebody's home, they create a risk assessment, and that's very reasonable. They assess the likelihood of there being guns inside the house, the likelihood of a hostile person inside the house, drugs, their own personal risk. So they make a risk assessment, and here it is. It says it evaluates such factors as weapons, lookouts, and the criminal history of the people believed to be inside. The Springfield Drive apartment was given a 15, making it low risk. All right? Regardless of what you think is in that police report, they gave this house a low risk at 15. Officer Mattingly told police investigators after the shooting that Taylor was a soft target who was thought to be alone in her apartment. Another home raided that evening on Muhammad Ali Boulevard had a score of 88. And let's read this correction. They did post a little correction here, which is always a good sign. Anytime a website posts a correction, that's great. It says, correction, an earlier version of the story described the plea deal offering Breonna Taylor as a court document. It was a draft presented to Jamarcus Glover and his attorney, but because it was not accepted, did not become an official record in Glover's pending criminal case. Still, this is huge that they offered a plea deal to Jamarcus Glover in trying to tie Breonna Taylor to him. And Jamarcus denied it. He turned down his own freedom for the truth in this case. Like, what motive would he have to turn this down? Would he still in love with her body and, posthumously? Lilith says, I don't think Maddox is up early. More like he's been up all night. Correct, Lilith? George says, internet god, her boyfriend was in jail. What is your point, my dude? George, you gotta read, you just read this headline. This is the point here. Drug suspect was offered a July plea deal if he would admit Breonna Taylor was part of an organized crime syndicate. The whole reason I'm reading this article is to show you the lengths at which the police went to try to find evidence to justify killing her. There's only one word for that, and it's corrupt. So when you guys see people protesting, I don't care what you think of the protesters. I don't care if you agree with them or disagree with them. At least you can understand why they're protesting, right? And that's not to justify any kind of violence or anything that happens. Oh, I see what you're saying, Valium. GE says, you can't read the actual report. Yeah, you can pass it off. Pass if it... What are you saying, man? You can pass if it in going to waste my time trying to get your link. GE, I read that fucking tweet you sent, or Throthox sent me. Where's the fucking link, man? There's no evidence. Show me the evidence that Breonna Taylor was involved in the drug ring. Show me the evidence. Show me. Because why are the police offers? Why is the defense offering a plea bargain to this to her ex-boyfriend? If they had the evidence, they wouldn't need to. Kevin says, GE is clearly typing mad lol. Okay, Blaze says, in-depth attorneys claim Breonna Taylor raid was a result of reckless city plan. Okay, Blaze, I can read that too. I don't want to read any conspiracies or speculation. I just want to read facts, right? But before we go on too far, now I'm going to show you guys the repercussions of everything that we just read. All right? So Let's give a recap for everyone who just joined. Breonna Taylor was killed by police officers. Retroactively, 4 months after the fact, they tried to find evidence, right? They couldn't find any evidence inside her home of any drugs or any money that was involved with any drugs. They just didn't. Those are the facts. Then 4 months after the fact, after they killed her, they reached out to the guy that she used to date who was involved in drugs, trying to tie her to him as some kind of drug runner or something. They had no evidence. And they offered the guy a plea deal that he turned down. So fast forward to the criminal case against the police officers. They were all let go except for one of them, and the one that wasn't let go, that one that might be indicted, was because he endangered one of the neighbors with a reckless shooting. Ron DeWan says, oh, let's see here. Okay, Throx says, here's a source, wave3.com. Warrants issued to arrest Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend amid leaked new document. Watch the vid. Okay, we'll watch this vid, Throx. Let me see what this is. Let me see if I can actually click on this here. All right, Throck, we are going to watch this video. We'll see what this is. This looks like it might be a real news source. Let's see what this is. Warrant issued for arrest of Breonna Taylor. And when was this? When did this come out? This is August 31st updated. Okay, let's see what this is.
He's at the center of the Breonna Taylor investigation, but now her ex-boyfriend faces being arrested yet again, skipping out on court, leading to fresh warrants. This as newly leaked documents in the drug investigation reach the public. Good evening, I'm John Bull. Shannon Cogan's off tonight. Jamarcus Glover is the main suspect in the narcotics case that led to the raid on Breonna Taylor's apartment. Wave 3 News troubleshooter Natalia Martinez found out police are searching for him again after he failed to show up for court.
His attorney told me today that he does not know where Glover is, and now we have new insight into just how much police were watching him before Taylor's death in this leaked report.
It's 39 pages of a summary report.
Okay, that report that she's holding is the report that we just saw in the Tatum report, right? So they're going over this report. I'm curious to see what they say. Let's see what they say here. I want to hear this video. We'll watch it together. Thank you, Mailfic1349 says the GE guy's drunk is new to how the internet works and he can't back up his claim. I appreciate your approach to logic. Thank you very much. All right. Let's keep watching this video. I'm going to watch this. Thank you, Throak. I'm going to watch this source. Let's take a look at it.
Officer involved in the narcotics investigation that led to the death of Breonna Taylor. In them, new pictures and conversations linking Taylor.
By the way, can you guys hear this okay? Can you guys hear the audio? Let me know if the audio is too low. We should be, you guys should be able to hear it okay, I think.
To her ex-boyfriend, Jamarcus Glover. The documents describe a close relationship between the two. It includes police learning Glover was using Taylor's car, then making numerous trips between her home and a so-called trap house on Elliott Avenue. There are also pictures of him picking up packages at her home. Wednesday, Sadiqa Reynolds of the Louisville Urban League questioned who knew about the information in the report and when.
Whoever leaked that report wants to say, see, this is why. And what we want to say back is it doesn't justify her death.
The documents include jailhouse conversations between them where Taylor mentions the trap house.
All right, volume's low. Let me see if I can turn that up for you guys. I may be able to. Let's see here. Let me double check here. I just installed some bullshit new extension. There's all these extensions that kind of... Yeah, here we go.
And worry.
Here, I might be able to do it through the volume mixer. Let me know if the audio sounds too low after I... Yeah, here we go. Okay, let me know now.
It's about Glover and his relationship with police. They detail how Glover was using her address as his residence about 2 weeks before police obtained the warrant. Taylor's family attorney, Sam Aguiar, called it unfortunate that he only learned of the contents after they were leaked, but that good or...
Wait, let's read this again. I want to hear this part again.
Her death.
The documents include jailhouse...
What's up, Miss Vero? What's up, Ebio, Mermaid? What's up, guys?
Conversations between them where Taylor mentions the trap house and worries about Glover and his...
Wait, let's read this. Let's listen carefully.
Say, see, this is why. And what we want to say back is it doesn't justify her death.
The documents include jailhouse conversations between them where Taylor mentions the trap house and worries about Glover and his relationship with police. They detail how Glover was using her address as his residence about 2 weeks before police obtained the warrant. Taylor's family attorney, Sam Aguiar, called it unfortunate that he only learned of the contents after they were leaked, but that good or bad, he was glad the public has now seen more of the case. FOP President Ryan Nichols called Taylor's death tragic. He believes the report does show what led police to Taylor's apartment in the first place. The documents later showed transcriptions of Glover's jail phone calls after Taylor died, where he talks about her having thousands of dollars of his money and stating that she'd been handling his money.
Mayor Greg Fisher has condemned the release of the documents. Meanwhile, Sam Aguiar, Breonna Taylor's attorney, said that he wants the public to see even more. We have much more about the contents of this report on wave3.com. Natalia.
Yeah, okay, Thorak, thank you for sending me that link and that video. I don't know, I'm going to give you the benefit of doubt because I don't know how long you've been watching this stream. Because everything in that news report is what we just read in that WDRB report. There's nothing new. I literally covered all that shit. I literally said in that report, they found that he did send money to her, but he says that those are for phone bills. There's nothing tying her to drugs. They found no drugs in her apartment. They found no money in her apartment. The money that he sent her, allegedly, was for phone bills. Then they offered her, Jamarcus, a plea bargain that he rejected to tie her to the drug syndicate, and he would be released early from jail if he had done that. He turned it down. I don't know what to tell you, bro. We covered all that information in that WDRB article. You've not sent me the smoking gun you thought you did. There's nothing new in that information, that article you just sent. Blaze, I'll check that WDRB article. Let's see. Let's see what this WDRB article is, Blaze. Let me pull that up real quick. WDRB.com/ let's see what this is. Attorney claims Breonna Taylor raid was a result of reckless city plan to revitalize West Louisville. Breonna Taylor's fatal shooting at the hands of Louisville police was the end of result of a land grab by city using officers to target and remove people and homes in the Russell neighborhood where Taylor's former boyfriend lived to revitalize Western Louisville with the large... You know, even though I'm clearly skeptical of the police actions here, this sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. In an amended lawsuit filed over the weekend, the attorneys alleged that Taylor's death stemmed from political need to clear out homes. Okay, maybe. While 8 homes in the Elliott Avenue were demolished and cleared of the city weeks before Taylor's death in March, one of the remaining holdouts on the street was rented house of Jamarcus Glover, an ex-boyfriend of Taylor's, according to new claims. To remove Glover from the home, a new police unit guided by city officials misled other officers into using an unwarranted amount of power to focus on him, including obtaining 5 no-knock warrants on March 12th to ensure he was captured. I mean, maybe. One of the warrants was for Breonna Taylor's home 10 miles away, according to the suit. Well, if it's 10 miles away, it's not the same neighborhood, is it? Right? Does this count if it's 10 miles away? When the layers are peeled back, the origin of Breonna's home being raided by police starts with a political need to clear out a street for a large real estate development project that finishes... Okay, but where's the evidence? This is a speculation. I want to see the evidence. The new filing by attorneys Sam Aguiar and Lonita Baker amends a wrongful death lawsuit filed in April on behalf of Taylor's death. Taylor's family against the city and 3 Louisville officers who fired multiple shots. Okay, we already got that much. The fatal shooting of Taylor, an unarmed black woman with no criminal history who was working as an emergency medical technician, has drawn national scrutiny. Okay, so this is covering the case. The work along Elliott Avenue is one small piece of the larger Russell neighborhood revitalization. He's just painting a motive here. This could be a motive, but where's the evidence? I need some solid evidence here. I mean, I have to treat all the articles for and against Breonna Taylor equally here, right? Let's treat all the evidence for and against with equal weight. Celeric says, The documents also alleged that back in 2016, the body of Fernandez Bowman was found in a car rented by Breonna Taylor. Wasn't Bowman one of the defendants, Celorak? Wasn't he in jail? And by the way, if that's alleged, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like, they dated at some point, so that still doesn't implicate Breonna in anything. If somebody came out to put yourself in her shoes. If somebody came out to your car today and found a body in it, even though it's your car, what evidence ties you to the body other than it's your car, right? Obviously, it's suspicious, but that doesn't prove you put the body there. That doesn't prove you killed the person who's in the car. That doesn't prove anything. It just means that somehow a body ended up in your car. Who's the most likely suspect? Well, you, of course. But that's not evidence. You can't try somebody on that. You can't convict somebody on that, rather. Pause for pot says possession is 9/10 of the law. Pause for pot, that's just a phrase. I don't think it actually means anything. Let's see. Moist Talent says, where's Maddox? He's in Oxmad's holster, of course. Somehow those drugs just need to end up in my car. Look, even if that was the case, they still didn't find drugs in her house. He turned it down. She wasn't. All right, this article. I mean, it's an interesting theory. But it's speculation. I'm not going to give it much weight. I don't want to give any conspiracy theories any weight. For or against Breonna Taylor. This is obviously her attorney trying to say, here is a possible motive for why Breonna Taylor, they went after her house. But that's pure speculation. Now let's come forward in time from the Breonna Taylor death. We just read the report. We know what's going on. Now let's march forward in time to the present. Okay? September 24th, 2020. The police were let off. They didn't find evidence to prove that the police acted wrongly. The police entered the house. I mean, honestly, like if you look at the evidence, they weighed it in the jury and they said, okay, can we prove that the police officers, had no reasonable warrant, no reasonable cause to enter this house? Well, they don't need much. All they have to do is we suspected, right? And they do have, according to that police report, that 39-page report that we just looked at, they found that Jamarcus had gone to Breonna Taylor's home several times. That's enough for the police to say, okay, well, we suspect that he was delivering drugs. They were wrong, and that's not enough evidence, but that's enough for them to just say, well, we suspect. When they entered the house, they were shot at because the person who lived there was suspicious and thought these people were intruders. That's what he said. They shot back and they killed Breonna Taylor. So if you present that evidence in court, you cannot convict the police officers for intentionally having killed Breonna Taylor. That's what they're looking for. Or recklessly killing Breonna Taylor. The police officers did their jobs. All right? And I'm not on the side. I think they did bad here. I think they did something wrong. They didn't have the evidence they were looking for. They fucked up. But were they guilty of this death? Well, the jury clearly says no, right? So the police are off the hook. Case closed, right? I guess everyone goes home. Everything's fine, right? Except it's not. And this is what I want to talk about today. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you guys, I actually created this little pad here. We're going to talk about the full implications of what's going on with policing. And this is my big picture view that I really want to cover in this news program. So this officer right here is talking about, from ABC News, says the police said 2 officers were shot during demonstrations that erupted after a Kentucky grand jury indicted one officer for allegedly endangering the neighbors of Breonna Taylor during the police shooting that resulted in her death. So they are saying that they did act recklessly, but not in terms of killing Breonna Taylor. They said that they were justified in firing back because they were fired upon, right? Here's this tragic news story. Listen to this police captain. I don't know who this is. Listen to this. Let me turn up this audio here for you guys. There we go.
I'm Robert Schroeder, Chief of Police, Louisville Metro Police Department. All the information I'm about to give you is preliminary in nature, and additional information may arise as the investigation continues. At about 8:30 tonight, our officers were called to the area of Brooklyn College on a large crowd and shots fired in the area. As they were deploying to investigate what was going on at First and Broadway, shots rang out and 2 of our officers were shot. Both officers are currently undergoing treatment at University Hospital. One is in alert and stable. The other officer is currently undergoing surgery and stable. We do have 1 suspect in custody. That's all the information I currently have.
Okay, that sucks. That's just, like, anytime somebody gets shot like this, you have to have some level of human empathy towards them. I don't care what side you're on. It sucks that an officer got shot. Because they're out there doing their job, and even if you disagree with them, I'm not like some bootlicker. Obviously, I think that there's some injustice that has been done here. I think that justice needs to be served here. And I'm going to talk about what that justice is and what it's going to look like. But it sucks. Any kind of violence sucks. I'm not a fan of it against protesters. I'm not a fan of it against police. Let me read this comment here because someone's flipping out in the chat room. Dirty McQuirty says, BLM is wrong. You are all literally people who cannot admit she A, had 2 houses, 1 had drugs, B, she was recorded dealing coke and heroin for weeks on a poll cameras, C, you all ignore facts. Dirty, you are an idiot. There's no evidence to back that up. I haven't seen a single shred of evidence. She has no police record. When she was killed, she had no police record. Show me the fucking proof that she had heroin or coke or any of the shit. She didn't. They didn't find an ounce of drugs. If they had that, why did they raid the wrong fucking house? Why isn't this coming up in police reports that she had drugs? It just doesn't exist, man. Where is it? Send me a fucking link or something. Show me some proof. Because you're talking out your ass. You sound like an idiot. Dirty McQuirty says, I am an actual fair-minded here, not biased, all facts. I own everyone in court. Okay, Dirty. Oh, thank you. Chris Lation, thank you so much for the 2. Blaze says, she an EMT and she is a big balling drug dealer. Now that's a story. Yeah. Also, as an EMT, what does she do with drug? They test you all the time as an EMT. Are you kidding me? MVP says, just avoided the cops and stay out of trouble. If you can't do that, you're a piece of shit. Okay, well, whatever. These comments are a black hole. A black hole of intellect. Let's go on, though. Let's look at some of the protests and stuff, some of the protest footage right now. This is in New York. New York City responds to Louisville police officers being cleared of Breonna Taylor's death. Here's another one. This is...
Broadway, Columbia to Harvey Milk is closed. This is the Portland Police Bureau. This event is a riot. South Nato to South Broadway, Columbia to Harvey Milk is closed.
Downtown Portland.
Leave the area now. Nato to Broadway, Columbia to Harvey Milk is closed.
Okay, so... I mean, Portland's been going strong. I think, did they ever stop protesting? I don't think they even stopped protesting, did they, in Portland? Georgia State Patrol deployed tear gas against protesters in downtown Atlanta. That was 4 hours ago. Let's see, this is... I don't know what city this is. Does anyone know? Dirty McQuirty says, she was fired for drugs from the EMT job. LNAO, dude, come on. Just look up the facts. I give it's on New York Times, Washington Post, etc. Dirty, I think you're full of shit, man. I think you're full of shit. I think you're full of shit, dude. I don't think she was fired from her job. Okay, I'm gonna Google it, Dirty. I'm gonna Google it. If this is false, Sergio Lopez says, no fucking, no you fucking shithead. She lost her job because she's fucking dead. All right, I'm gonna Google it, Dirty. If this is false, then I'm not gonna read any more of your comments. You're an idiot. All right. Breonna Taylor fired. Well, you're gonna find a lot of links that say fired officer is indicted. What we know about the killing of Breonna Taylor. How can I even find this? Fired from EMT job. All right, let's see what this is. Why Wave deleted a story about Breonna Taylor. Let's see what this is. Why Wave deleted that story about Breonna Taylor. Fired. Fired. No, I don't see it, man. I don't see. Yo, Supervan Giovanni, thanks, man. Thanks for the 5, dog. Supervan Giovanni, you guys should follow him on Twitter. That guy's cool. Appreciate it, man. However, Wave did no one any good by publishing a brief story about reporter Natalia Martinez that attempted to, in her words, tell more about Breonna Taylor's life, but the story merely whittled Taylor's life down to a job she held 4 years ago. The online story has since been removed. 4 of the 7 short paragraphs in the story were devoted to an 11-month period in 2016 when Taylor worked for the Louisville Metro. Wave reported that Taylor called to quit her job as an EMT after serving in the capacity for 5 months, and that her termination form included a do not rehire box that was checked. The city would not comment on the reason, citing privacy policies. There is nothing wrong with correcting misinformation about Taylor's current place of employment, but this story was about her work history 4 years ago when she was just 22. Yeah, this is fucking irrelevant, man. Why are we caring about her job from 4 years ago that she quit, apparently? Seems to serve no other purpose in the narrative other than to show her character and throw her character into question. Of course. Of course. Because anytime somebody gets killed who you want to justify killing, you always retroactively look for shit, right? You always retroactively look for some reason to justify having killed this person. It's a shitty thing to do. You're a fucking coward. It's a shitty thing to do. In this case, mundane details like these matter as much as having a bad credit report or an unpaid traffic ticket, of course. Which is to say they don't matter at all, especially because the specific details are unknown. So your evidence here that Breonna Taylor was fired from her job, which she wasn't, is an article that was retracted because it was false. It had misinformation in it. Even worse, this type of dirt digging gives fodder to knee-jerk defenders of unchecked lethal force by police officers. That's you, Dirty McQuirty. That detracts from calls for a full accounting into why a young black woman's life was suddenly and violently taken from her. Regardless of the intent of the reporter or the station, the information serves as a smear useful only to city attorneys and stalwart police defenders, but potentially harmful to people who could be victimized by unchecked power in the future. This tweet by Hannah Drake says, "This is disgusting. Wave News has nothing better to do than to pull the personal file of Breonna Taylor, a black woman murdered by the police. I'm thoroughly disgusted. Where is the personal files of the police officers killed?" That's a good fucking question. All right, let's talk about Derek Chauvin for a minute here. You guys remember Derek Chauvin, the guy who killed George Floyd? Check this shit out. Former Minnesota, this is from NPR, former Minnesota police officer Derek Chauvin charged with tax evasion. $95,000. Look at this. The Washington County Prosecutor's Office announced Wednesday that Chauvin and his wife, Kelly Mae Chauvin, faced charges of underreporting their joint income from 2014 through 2019 by $464,000. That's $500,000 fucking dollars, man. So why aren't we holding everyone to this standard? When police officers kill somebody that we suspect might be an abuse of force, an abuse of their authority, then people could dig through their records to try to justify it retroactively. But they never look through the records of the police officers because we can't. The only reason we were able to even know this is because George Chauvin was arrested, owed $500,000. He underreported his income by $500,000, including more than $95,000 that Derek Chauvin earned from off-duty security work. It's fucking insane. Dirty McQuirty says, New York Times confirms she was fired. You brought up Leo's blog. Okay, let's go to New York Times then. Where's this New York Times article? Here we go. What we know, let's see here. Let's show the full article. Let's hide that. All right. Oh my God. Let's get this out of here. Fired his gun. Fired one of the officers. Floyd Kiss was swiftly fired. Miss Walker fired his gun. Detective Brett Hansen was fired. The Louisville police say that they fired upon Miss Walker. One of the officers fired. I don't see it, man. She feared for his life and fired in defense. Finally fired. I don't see it, man. These termination parts in this article are all about the police officers who are fired. I don't see this New York Times article talking. And even if she had, who cares? What does that matter? What's your point, man? There's still no evidence of any drugs. There's still no evidence of any money. They didn't find anything, period. Fuck you. You're just wasting my time. We're not going to read any more of your shit. Dirty, you're full of shit. Until you find me some fucking actual evidence, we're not going to read any more of your bullshit. We're done. All right, let's go on. Let's look at some more of this protest stuff. So the boards of the Hall of Justice have been set on fire in Louisville. This was earlier tonight. Let's take a look at this video here. Dirty says, you went down the hole of her not dealing drugs, poll cameras. What are you talking about, man? We looked at all the evidence. You guys sent me all the shit that you wanted me to look at. I looked at it. There's none of it. I didn't see any of it. All right, so they're setting fire. They set up these boards here long before the actual trial here.
If you not do so, may dispense chemical agents and you may be arrested. This is the Louisville Metro Police Department. Under Kentucky state law, this is an unlawful assembly. I command all persons so assembled here to immediately and peacefully disperse. If you not do so, you may dispense chemical agents and you will be arrested.
You know, Dirty, let's just play a little game here. Let's just assume that you're right. And you're not. Let the record state that you're an idiot. But let's assume for a second that you're right. Let's assume that this evidence exists. Does that justify the police killing her? No. Even if she had drugs on her, which she didn't, that still doesn't justify having killed her. Let's take a step back and look at the cost of this case. Let's look at the cost of this policing, right? Let's take a look at this. Thank you, Josh Abraham, for the 149. All right, let's look at the cost. So first of all, here's the cost of all this police activity. Let's just look at the fucking cost of this thing for a minute. First of all, you have lives that were lost. That's irreplaceable. Thank you, Chris Lation. Appreciate it. So you have the lives that were lost, right? Second, you have the police investigation. All right, and that costs minimum, $50,000 to $100,000, right? Because that's time off from the police work. The police officers have to, take their time off. They're going to be put on paid leave, at least for a month. This has been at least like several months that have been going on. Multiple months have been going on. And then they have to hire their internal investigators. It's a big fucking mess. It's costing at least $50,000 to $100,000. Then you have the trial. Oops. I don't know how in this to erase. Let me see. Yeah, I can do this right here. All right, let's erase that. There. So then you have the trial. Okay, that's at least another $100,000 to $200,000, probably even more. I'm being very conservative here. Okay, these are very conservative estimates. Then you had the police investigation itself into Breonna Taylor's house that ended up being a bust, right? So the investigation, I mean, all the police work, all the hours that the police officers spend. How much can someone Google it for me real quick? How much does an average police officer make in Louisville? What is a police officer's average hourly salary? And we can just quickly estimate how many days they investigated this house, and then quickly estimate like how much money they probably spend on this thing. Zerface says you're pulling numbers out of your ass that are fairly accurate. Thank you. I guess that. Thank you for that backhanded compliment, Zerface. Devin says, notice how the only people playing devil's advocate aren't using actual names. Okay. did anyone Google that? Okay, Miss Vero, thank you, Miss Vero, for $30. So $30 an hour. Let's do some quick math here. So $30 an hour, and let's say they probably investigated her house or did some research about it. Let's say a month. Let's say they did that up for a month. So 8 hours a day, $30 an hour, times 20 days in a month. Let's just say they worked Monday through Friday, right? That's $4,800 per officer. Let's say that there were 3 officers assigned to the case. So that right there is about $15,000 to $20,000. Let's go with 15. We'll stick with the conservative estimates, right? Then after the trial happened, right? Then you have the protests and the riots. And that, I looked it up earlier, the estimates for the protests and riots, like any building or business that's destroyed, is a minimum of $150,000 to $500,000, $500,000. I don't think they have like high-end shops and stuff that were destroyed. But and then that's not even counting the man hours required for the police officers, the SWAT team, the cleanup, all that shit, right? Let's just look at the businesses that are going to be destroyed in the riots. So businesses destroyed. Let's say, I don't know, let's say 10 businesses are destroyed at an average of, I don't know, 150,000 apiece. That's 1.5 million. Okay. Then let's look at the police hours, the man hours. So this might involve the National Guard. This is gonna involve a minimum of several hundred police officers to police the riots, and that's not even counting the loss of their lives. All right, let's just look here for the police hours. So the number of police officers who are going to police the streets after and get the protesters off and clear the riots and all that shit, at $30 an hour times, let's see, that was for 3 officers. We can multiply that by 10 basically. So it's like that's probably another, or maybe 100. 100 times 3. So that's like 300 officers working full time for at least a month to clean up this mess. I'm guessing. This is kind of like a loosey-goosey guess, but this is going to cost another, I don't know, let's just say $1 million. Okay. Then you have the officers' lives who are going to be lost. And we haven't even gotten to the protesters' lives, right? Officers killed. Okay. And that is priceless. You're losing some officer lives. So the lives lost, this is Breonna Taylor. Okay. Breonna Taylor, and then this is police officers. Okay. Then you have the protesters. Whoops. Oh, shit. There we go. Okay. Then you have the protesters. And those are, invaluable. You lose the protester lives. So let's do some quick math. Let's just look at the total. How much this police operation cost? So we can't estimate, the lives that were lost here are invaluable. You're never going to be able to replace them. However, a long time ago, I heard like an NPR story that kind of estimated the lives lost. Each life that is lost, like during the Iraq War, they estimated it being approximately worth like $200,000. I don't remember how they came up to that figure, and I hate to put a cost on life, but they said approximately they tried to estimate the economic impact of each lost life, and they said that the economic impact would be approximately $200,000. So let's say $200K for Breonna Taylor, and that's just the economic impact. Her life is obviously invaluable. It's priceless. You can't replace it. It's worth infinity, but you can't do the math here. So let's just say the economic impact, a minimum to the job and the people who she was helping save in her lives, is going to have an economic impact in the economy. So that's 200 plus 100. That's 300 plus another 2. Let's average this. So I'm just averaging these two numbers here. The 50 to 100, that'll be 75, and 100 to 200 is 150. So let's say that's like 300, all right? So we're at $500,000 already. $15K for the investigation. That's a rounding error. $1.5 million in business destructions. All right, that's a huge one. So we're already at $2 million. And then $1 million in police hours. That's $3 million. Okay. And then the police lives lost. 2 officers have been shot. None of them have been killed to my knowledge yet, but let's just go ahead and assume that hopefully they survive, but let's assume they passed. We'll assign another $200,000 for each one of their lives. So we're at $3 million. That's 3.4. All right, 3.4. And then the protesters' lives that have been lost. Let's just average. Most of the protests have been ending up with like, I don't know, like two or three people who've been getting killed. And we'll just estimate that's another 600,000. One sec here. Okay, there we go. Cool. That's like another 600,000 people or so, or $600,000. So 3.4 million plus 600,000 equals $4 million. So that whole police operation of them investigating Breonna Taylor's house, fucking up, the investigation into the police officers, the investigation into the death, the lawsuits, all this shit has cost society $4 million. So now you have to step back and wonder, what is the cost of the crime that were allegedly being committed? What does that cost? Because if it's less than $4 million, which I think it is, and I think it's significantly less than $4 million, because in order to do $4 million of drug trades, that's a lot of fucking drugs. You're not going to come up with $4 million of drugs, especially in one fucking crack house, in one fucking house in Louisville. The house, like, you could buy every fucking house on the street for $4 million. All the things they want to do in the city, like taking over that neighborhood, doing whatever they want to do, that $4 million is a lot of fucking money in Louisville. So my point is that if the cost of all this backtracking, police investigations, lawsuits, trials, lost lives, protests, businesses destroyed, lives destroyed, police officers killed, is it worth it? What the fuck are we doing? Now, these police officers were let off the hook because, by the books, you can't try them for anything, right? They entered this apartment. They believed they had probable cause. The police officers can justify that. The police officers can say they did that. Malefic1349, thanks for the 5, says, Dirty perpetuates bad faith arguments without evidence. Props to Maddox for even entertaining even one of his baseless claims. Thank you, Malefic. Really appreciate it. That's kind of you. So, $4 million is the cost of this police operation. And then you have to look at their trial, right? The police officers were let off the hook. They were found not guilty because they entered a house with probable cause. Flimsy. It was flimsy probable cause. As Dirty and some of the other dipshits in the chat room without evidence have been trying to prove that she had drugs. She didn't. And even if she did, now you got to look at the cost to society and say, well, is $4 million worth the cost? Is risking the lives of police officers worth the cost? Because their police action, their policing, has led to civil unrest. It has led to riots. It has led to people being upset and protesting. And the police officers put a target on their backs, on their own backs, by their own policing. You want to say, like, police officers need to take precautions to protect themselves. I agree with that. They have a right to defend themselves. But defending themselves in the present instance, when they enter houses like Breonna Taylor's and they get fired upon, they need to weigh the cost versus benefit of even entering the house in the first place, of even pursuing this baseless bullshit, flimsy drug, this drug charge in the first place. because they need to look forward, play the clock forward, and see what would happen if this exact scenario happens. Because every single time you enter a home looking for drugs, don't find them, and kill an innocent person, guess fucking what? Society's going to be pissed off. People are going to be protesting. That's just what's happening. This is the new normal. People aren't going to put up with it anymore. Right or wrong, whether you support the protesters or not, this is what's happening today. This is the new normal. So as a police officer, if you're smart, you have to step back and think to yourself, is it worth it? Is all of this worth it? Every time you step into a house, every single time you draw your gun, every single time you fire a bullet, you might be justified. You might think you have probable cause. You might think you're doing your job. You might think you're helping society. But you need to play the clock forward and say, well, I need to step outside this situation. I may be safer by firing upon somebody who's firing upon me inside this house right now today. But am I going to be safer tomorrow? Are my colleagues going to be safer tomorrow? Because the more this shit happens, right or wrong, you have to look at the reality of the situation. We're playing an is-ought game. What ought to happen is society says, okay, this was a tragic accident, it was a mistake, let's forgive the police officers, it won't happen again. But that's not what's happening. People are pissed off, people are tired of it, and they're protesting. Again, right or wrong, you don't have to agree with the protesters. This is what's happening. We're not talking about what ought to happen, we're talking about what is happening. Since this is happening, oh, it says my mic is clipping. Okay, thanks for the heads up. Let me know if the mic is still clipping. If it is, let me know. I can turn it down. Here, let me turn it down a little bit right now. Okay. Let me know if the mic is still clipping. It shouldn't. Miss Vero says he sounds fine on my end. Thank you, Miss Vero. Red Button says they should when the laws are unjust. Sergio says police have a history of allowing lynching in the 1800s and the war on drugs against hippies in the 1900s. Okay. Let's get back to my statement. So if this is what's happening because of their policing, it is not making them more safe to enter these houses and fire upon people, even if they think their lives are in danger. Because remember this is an important lesson for everyone to learn. Everyone, not just police officers, everyone needs to know this. Just because your life is safer today doesn't mean it's going to be safer tomorrow. The actions you take today to save your life may jeopardize not just your life, but the lives of everyone you love tomorrow. Your colleagues, your coworkers, your police chief, your captain, your precinct. We're living in a powder keg. People are pissed off. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. What is what you have to deal with. The reality of the situation is what you have to deal with. People are pissed off. So what do you do? What do you do if you live in America in 2020 where protests have been going on for over 110 nights in Portland? Protests have been going on in Minnesota, in New York, in Chicago, in Dallas, in Salt Lake City, Utah, in Arizona, in Wisconsin, Kenosha, Wisconsin. In every major city, in Michigan, in Boston, every major city, protests have been going on. And these protests are all not just BLM. Like, BLM is almost too small to explain what's going on here, because this is really about police brutality and the perceived corruption of police. I'm not an all cops are bastards guy. I've said this in the past. I don't think all cops are bastards. I just don't. I don't think cops are all bad guys. In fact, I think the majority of them aren't. I think the majority of cops are just doing their jobs, and they're trying to do right by the law. They're trying to do right by society. They are part of society. But these abuses that happen are not being treated seriously. And people are fed up and tired of it. And right or wrong, people are going to protest. If you live in a reality where people are protesting everything you're doing, you cannot afford another Breonna Taylor. You cannot afford another George Floyd. Because the cost of action, if you're wrong, is much greater than the cost of inaction. Here's the cost of action. $4 million to society. And this is just in Louisville. This isn't even counting George Floyd. This isn't even counting any of the, any of the other deaths that have happened, any of the other protests that have happened. Who's the guy? I'm blanking on his name in Georgia. The guy who was sleeping in the Wendy's parking lot or the drive-thru when he was drunk, sleeping in his car. He's trying to sleep it off. Police officer showed up. It escalated. They didn't de-escalate it. It ended in the guy getting killed. The Wendy's got burnt down. People protested. Again, what is the cost of inaction? Seriously, what is the cost of inaction? What if you let the guy go? What if you let the guy sleep in his car? You took his keys away and said, "Hey man, when you sober up, come down to the station, pick up your keys." How about that as effective policing instead of escalating, murdering the guy, having civil unrest, having everyone upset, the Wendy's getting burnt down, traffic getting shut down, police firing on protesters, protesters firing back into police, tear gas, SWAT teams, National Guard, Trump threatening to send in fucking military to quell the violence. What is the point of this? What is the cost of inaction? And is it more or less significantly than the cost of action? Maybe it's time we all just take a step back and say, you know what? It's not worth pursuing some of this stuff. Or we need to rethink our strategies. We need to rethink how we approach policing. Because the cost of another Breonna Taylor is immeasurable compared to maybe just being a little bit more cautious and letting this kind of little shit go and not entering into someone's house when you just suspect something because this ex-felon had delivered some mail to her house. Like, that's not fucking strong evidence. You know the difference between the FBI and the police? Is the FBI likes to make a bulletproof case for everything that they do. The FBI doesn't prosecute unless they have a bulletproof case. The FBI waits and sits on evidence for years until they have enough evidence for a bulletproof conviction against somebody. The police don't. And there's a book I just read. I highly recommend it. It's called Talking to Strangers. It's by Malcolm Gladwell. And he talks about, GE says, Maddox's strategy for drunk drivers is let them go and ask them to come to the police station. You're absolutely insane. Why, GE? Why is that insane? If a guy's drunk if a guy's like trying to sleep off his drunkenness, he's obviously not driving. He's sitting in his car. Take his keys away. Tell him to come down to the station when he sobers up. What's wrong with that? Versus what? Escalate with the guy, get him killed, and have the entire fucking city protest and shut down and burn down the Wendy's? What is the alternative? Because my alternative of letting the guy sleep it off in his car, take his keys down to the station, have the officers give it back to him when he sobers up, that seems like a much better solution, doesn't it? Than escalate with this guy, shoot him in the back, get him killed, have the entire city protest, burn things down. Do you think that's a better solution? GE says he drove to the Wendy's drunk. Okay, but they didn't have evidence of that, did they? I mean, he was in his car. He could have drank in his car, couldn't he, GE? They didn't have evidence of that. Saturn999 says he was drunk in the drive-thru. That's right, but you don't know where he drank. The cops didn't have enough reason to... Like, of course, if you get caught in your car, the law says the police officers can arrest you. And honestly, that's a fine law. I don't want drunk drivers on the road. This guy who was caught drunk in his car, every drunk driver should be arrested and prosecuted. Drunk driving is fucked. You shouldn't drive drunk, period. But he wasn't driving. He was in his car. The car was parked, or maybe it was idling. He wasn't driving anywhere. So what if they pulled this guy aside, again, in context of everything going on in the world? In the context of everything going on in the world, with all the protests and all the civil unrest, if the police officers had like been smart and took a step back for a second and decided, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to cause the civil unrest. Because the danger that guy, that drunk driver, posed to society is infinitesimal compared to the danger of a fucking mob burning down the entire city, isn't it? Just like be rational for a second. GE says, you're a moron, Maddox. Where he drank, why don't you type were versus where, idiot? He drive to the Wendy's and hit drink in the he was waiting in the drive-thru. GE, sounds like you're drunk, dumbass. Maybe the cop should bust into your house, idiot. Learn how to type. That's right, Vincent. Winamp does whip the llama's ass. Uniami says, Maddox isn't going to look at the reality as it will prove him wrong. What reality, man? What do you want me to read? Dirty says, Maddox is going full SJW Kool-Aid drinker. Whoa. I mean, this is all you got. When you can't form an argument, when you don't have a rebuttal, when you don't have evidence, as you've proven again and again and again in this entire chat, Dirty, when you don't have evidence, all you do is you fall back on labels. So if somebody has a nuanced point of view, where again, like I'm not anti-cop and I'm not anti-protester, I understand why people are protesting, but I'm also asking you guys to reason why police are doing what they're doing. And is it effective? That's the bottom line. The only thing that matters in all of this, the only thing that matters, let me write this down for you, because I know you're really slow, Dirty, so let me write this down for you. Is it effective? And by it, I mean policing. Is the policing that we're doing now, current policing, right? Current strategies. Are current strategies effective? All right, and what do we mean by effective? Well, is it cost effective? Is it lives? Is it saving lives? Is it making us safer? So let's ask those questions of what's going on with policing today. So we looked at that previous slide that I just drew, and we know it's not cost effective. Okay, so it's not cost effective because it cost $4 million to raid Breonna Taylor's home, and several people have died. Let's look at lives. Well, we know that's not effective either. Lives are being taken, lives are being killed, lives are being destroyed by the current policing system that we have. Now let's look at, is it making society safer? Well, do you guys feel safer with mobs going around in your cities and burning shit down? Do you feel safer? If the answer is no, then guess what? That's 0 for 3. 0 out of 3 of these metrics are being met. It's not cost effective, it's not lives effective, and it's not safer. So what the fuck is the point? What the fuck is the point? And that's a question I want you guys to think about. I know, Dirty, you won't think about it because you don't think, but The rest of you who aren't dumbasses, I want you to think about policing and whether or not it's effective. And the metrics with which I measure effectiveness is it cost effective, lives effective, is it saving lives, and is it making society safer? If those three things aren't met, hell, I would even take one of these three right now. The current method of policing is bad. It's not effective. By bad, I mean not effective. I'm not saying all cops are bad. I don't think that police are bad. I don't want to abolish the police. I don't. And I'm not even sure what the whole defund the police movement is all about. Like, some people say it's about reinvesting it into other areas of society, whatever. I don't know. But right now, I just want you guys to ponder this question. I'm not going to answer right now. This is like, it's gone on longer than I expected. But is it cost effective? Is it lives effective? Is it safer? If you can't answer yes to those three questions, then the only alternative is to change the current method of policing. This is what we're doing right now, and it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Sorry, it just doesn't fucking work. The current method of policing doesn't work because this is all that matters. The effectiveness. This is all that matters. Effectiveness. If it's not effective, you got to start over, go back to the drawing board. Fist of Archive says, without asking for aid, the only thing we can do are three things. One, federal martial law. States go with federal aid. Go with federal for aid. You let them burn the shit down, which is what we do right now. I don't know, man. I think that you guys... It's almost like a waste for me to read your guys' comments because I'm so much smarter than all of you. All right, let's go on here. Let's move on. Devin Bryan says, child slaves in Iran and Yemen matter more. Don't be dense. Kids, what the fuck are you talking about? It's a waste of my fucking time to read these comments. I swear to God, you guys are so fucking dumb. All right, we're not even talking about that shit. Let's move on. Metal Eggman says, I like Maddox since he can deal with idiots way better than I can. You're welcome. Red Button says, put Freemason logo on USA Police Department. You see, idiots. You guys are idiots. The fuck are you talking about? Canman87 says, I don't disagree with you, Maddox. Well, smart, Canman. You shouldn't. Only smart people agree with me. And only dumb people disagree. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk about some other shit. We'll look at some more of this protest footage. There's been a lot of shit that's going on. Okay, again, look at this shit. Look at this shit. LMPD kills. There's all sorts of protest shit. They're sending in buses to make mass arrests of protesters. Here's SWAT police in riot gear, state police in riot gear. Just a fucking mess, man. All the civil unrest for what? Is this effective policing? Is this effective fucking policing? What are you gonna do with these arrests? And whatever happened to fucking COVID? You know, one of the biggest vectors of infection for COVID has been jails. So you take all these protesters to jail, and then what? You book them for a few days, a few hours, and then you release them. Then what? This is Metro Corrections, scene inside Metro Corrections. Protests going on everywhere. Oh, by the way, so one other thing I was going to check. So I have the snap maps up here. We're going to look at the Louisville protests. Some of the footage that was coming out from Louisville. It seems pretty dead right now. It was like really hot earlier. Yeah, here's some of the footage coming out of Louisville. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reinstall this extension, make sure I can get the audio going. So this is like some of the footage that people have been posting on Snapchat from Louisville. IT says, anyone else get a huge erection when you see a video of a BLM person getting run over? Okay, man, you're an idiot. I don't care if you are pro or anti-protester or BLM or police or whatever. The second you start celebrating the death of these people is the second you lose your humanity, and I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't give a fuck. Like which side you're on. If you are for anyone getting killed, you can fuck off.
Be safe, y'all. Shit, everybody.
Like there's people I disagree with politically. I don't want them to die. Malefic 1349 says, ask for a single commenter to challenge your math on any topic. The results will speak for themselves. Yeah, I mean, I welcome it. I welcome the challenge. I mean, look at this mess, dude. Is this worth it? Is this fucking worth it? GE says, sorry, but Maddox is naive. His stance on drunk drivers. Should just wake up and drive off and kill people. That's not what I said, dipshit. It's not what I said, idiot. Oh yeah, there we go. So this person says, RoboCop, just wait till they put guns on these drones. I mean, that's coming. That's what's coming next. They're gonna have like drones with weapons on them. They already have them in South Africa.
Also, then there's another one. It looks like it's either state police or the National Guard. And then one flew over this tree. You can't even see it. But that one, some of them are, you can see the helicopters flying over downtown Louisville right now as protesters have gathered at Jefferson Square Park.
Canman87 says, I was telling people months ago if the cop that killed George Floyd got acquitted, it'd be worse than the LA riots. The whole situation surpasses even my expectations. Of course. It'll be a mess. We start another podcast with a furry cow animal. What are you talking about, man? Canman says shit is going fucking crazy. It is. G says, no, you said let him sleep it off. So what's stopping them waking up still drunk and then driving once the police have left to sleep it off? Okay, dumbass. Listen, I'm going to explain this to you one last time because you're a fucking idiot and you don't listen. Listen carefully to what I said. I said the police officers could have taken his keys down to the police station, let him sleep it off in his car, and then when he sobers up, he comes down to the station to get his keys. All right, dipshit? I didn't say to let him drive it off as soon as the police officers left. I said they take his keys away, then he goes down to the station and picks up his keys after he sobers up. Then they write him a ticket, make sure he doesn't do it again. How's that for a solution? Rather than having the entire fucking city protest another guy getting killed. Right or wrong, another guy got killed. You know, yeah, he ran away from the police officers. It was controversial, whatever. G says, how do you take his keys? You don't think he could stay assaulting police officer, police fire, taking his keys? What are you saying, man? G, can you at least like try typing like a human being? Can you try typing in like complete sentences, words that make sense, sentences that make sense? Just make an effort to spell words correctly so I can read it. I'm not even being super nitpicky here. I just want to understand what you're trying to say. You sound like a dumbass. It's like you're just using your fists and just slamming on the keyboard and pressing enter every time. Wasting my fucking time. G says he beat the crap out of the police. No, he didn't. You're full of shit. He tried to get away, but again, that whole ordeal could have been avoided if the police officers de-escalated that situation. They did not. The police officers, by the way, did nothing wrong by their training. They did everything they were trained to do. However, again, let's go back to this slide I drew here. Is it effective? Because that's the only thing that matters. Is it effective? Is it making their lives safer? Right? Is their actions that they're taking making their lives safer? No, it's not. It's not. It's not. Police aren't safer. Society isn't safer. Lives aren't saved. Property isn't saved. What the fuck is the point of the police? And I'm not saying abolish them. I'm saying this strategy right now isn't working. So whatever they're doing right now has to change. They're not doing a good job. This isn't working. Ron DeWan says, Maddox, you don't think cost and blame can be attributed to multiple sources? Well, sure. I mean, yeah, people are fucking up. Like, the guy shouldn't have been drunk in his car. The guy shouldn't have done that. You know, people are gonna fuck up. But also, if you guys listen to Malcolm Gladwell's book, Talking to Strangers, it's a great book. He talks about policing in depth and how police officers changed their policing methods in, I think, 1960, 1970. And it all started in Kansas City, where police officers tried to look at how they could reduce crime. And the way they approached it is by taking some control groups, right? They had a bunch of little districts that they policed in different ways. In one district, they had police just do their normal beats, just going around neighborhoods and just looking for crime. The odds of them running into any crime happening while it's happening is next to nothing. Then they had another group where police officers were very aggressive in a certain neighborhood that was known to be high crime. They had another group where the police officers were non-existent. And then they had another group where they just increased the amount of police officers, but then had the regular thing. In all four groups, the experiment had no difference in the amount of crime. The presence of police officers had no difference in the amount of crime that was occurred versus no police officers at all. And that was really disheartening to the police in Kansas. So what they did is they started experimenting with a few different methods. One thing that they did is they did a study and they found that the majority of crime in a city, like I think something like 50% of the crime, happens in 3 or 5% of the city blocks. So there's like some very high crime blocks where the criminals happen to live, and that's where all the crime occurs. 50% of the crime in a city happens like from 3 or 4 city blocks. That's it. There aren't a lot of criminals out there. This is like a very, very small portion of the society. Well, what Kansas City found out is when they increased the amount of traffic stops in those high crime areas, they were able to significantly reduce the amount of crime in those cities. And the way they were able to do that is they started looking for guns and drugs. Because every single time there was a high profile crime, if there was a criminal in an area, they almost always invariably found drugs and guns on them. So with these excess traffic stops in these high crime areas, they were able to root out all the criminals in these areas, and they significantly reduced the crime. So when the study came out, they made national headlines. Everybody was impressed. All the police stations around the country started calling Kansas City, trying to find out what they did to effectively reduce crime. Well, something was lost in translation, because police stations and precincts around the country started taking their approach of excess policing and pulling over people for traffic incidents to the extreme. For example, one city had, in a year, they had something like, in a 4-year period, they had something like 400,000 traffic stops. And after they implemented this aggressive style of policing, they went from 400,000 in 1 year to 800,000. So like in a 4-year period, over what's that, like 100,000 per year, they quadrupled the amount of traffic stops and tickets that they wrote. And of course they did find some more crime, but it was like that much. Like it was something like an extra like 3 or 5% extra crime that they were able to discover. However, the cost of pulling over 800,000 people or 800,000 times started to create a pushback against the police officers in those cities. People started to resent the police. They stopped viewing them as a service for good, a service for society to protect and serve them, and they started viewing police officers as a nuisance, as somebody who's there to write you some nickel and dime ticket. And then these tickets became a revenue stream for a lot of these police, these districts and these police precincts. And that's where we have the problem today. So where they took the Kansas City model, where they were able to successfully reduce crime, they mismanaged it and they approached it wrong, where they just increased traffic stops across the board instead of just in high crime areas. That's where the problem occurred, and that's why we're in the mess that we have today. Excess policing, police who are there just to pull people over, to write tickets in the hope that they'll catch some additional crime. But it's not working, man. This little slide that I drew here is everything. Is it effective? Is it cost effective? Is it lives effective? Is it making society safer? And then I should have added a fourth one. Is it making police safer? Is it safer for police right now? Is it more or less safer? I'm just asking you guys a question. Forget about Breonna Taylor. Forget about George Floyd. Just look at the police officers who are out there doing their jobs right now. Is it safer for them? I think if you're honest, you'll answer no. That's the whole point. All right, let's move on. We looked at some of these snap maps. There's also a whole bunch of shit that happened in Los Angeles and New York. Look at that, Indianapolis. Let's see what's going on in Indianapolis. I don't know if there's protests there. No, this looks like a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this is. Oh yeah, there's some protest stuff going on in Indianapolis as well. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but there's a bunch of hot spots. Chicago, of course. Chicago. Let's take a look at Chicago and see what's going on here.
I'm smoking this
pot. Just trying to find some like protest stuff that's going on in Chicago. This seems like normal stuff. The hot spots in the U.S. for protests seem to be New York, L.A., and Louisville, I think. Let's see if we can find anything in Manhattan. I mean, this is like New York. This is all of New York State, so it's not going to be very focused right now. Let's pop into Manhattan and see what's going on in Manhattan. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Around Times Square is where all the protests were happening. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's just so much going on in New York. I don't think we're going to be able to focus on that right now. Okay, let's pop back over to, we can check Los Angeles real quick. See what's going on in Los Angeles. Oh, Nashville. I guess there were some protests in Nashville too. Las Vegas. I looked earlier. There wasn't a ton of shit going on in Las Vegas. Okay, so downtown Los Angeles, there was definitely a ton of protests going on. So we should be able to find something here. Yeah, here we go. The cost of the policing alone for this Breonna Taylor shit is astrofucking-nomical. There's no way. You can't, in good faith, argue that this is effective policing. You just can't. It's not effective policing. Anyone who disagrees is an idiot. This is not effective policing. The cost to society is too great. Police officers are not safer today than they were yesterday. This is making no one's life better. None. Twitch13 says it's a waste of money. You're damn right it is. All right, let's move on. I want to cover some other stuff before we head out. So, I made this. Oh, you guys can't see it here. Let me put this up on screen. There we go. Okay. So, I made this tweet back on September 16th, just a couple weeks ago. I said, the added benefit that people aren't talking about with mask use for COVID-19. Moving on, we're talking about COVID-19 now. The added benefit is that all this preventative measure will pay dividends in the reduction of seasonal flu cases as well as COVID-19. So because everyone's wearing masks right now, everyone's going around and, spreading less germs, that's going to result, my guess was that would probably result in a much milder flu season than we might have. So everyone, when COVID-19 first became a thing, everyone was like, oh, the flu kills more people. I was one of those people. I came out and I said, the flu kills way more people every year. We don't have to worry about this. It's overblown, blah, blah, blah. Well, if that's the case, it's no longer the case. But if that was the case back then, wouldn't it be a good thing that we're all wearing masks now? Because it's going to reduce the amount of contamination of the seasonal flu as well. So if COVID-19 is killing 200,000 people and the seasonal flu kills, 100, 200,000 people, then isn't it a good thing that we're reducing all infections overall? Well, that's what I anticipated. That's what I predicted. I said, I wouldn't be surprised if flu deaths and cases plummeted because of mask use. How's that a bad thing? And then there was an article in NPR that says that may be the case. But then finally, just as I was about to go live, this article just got posted from The Economist. Like literally, what time is it? It's like an hour and a half ago. This article got posted from The Economist. It says, the Southern Hemisphere skipped flu season in 2020. Surprise, surprise. Efforts to stop COVID-19 have had at least one welcome side effect. So here in Argentina, it says the flu averages from 2015 to 2019 are 16.2 deaths per 100,000 people. COVID-19 are 23 deaths per 100,000 people. Australia. Okay, so this is the 2020 deaths. You see this thick red line right down here? Let me zoom this in a little bit so you guys can see. Okay, this is in Argentina. Look at this. This thick red line is the number of flu deaths this season, and look at compared to previous seasons. Look at that. It's like almost zero over here. Look at it. It's like next to zero flu deaths compared to previous years where they had 900 weekly flu cases. Look at this. It's near zero. And the same thing with Australia. Anyone who says masks don't work still to this day are fucking idiots. Look at this. Another thick red line down here. This is Australia. And look in previous seasons, 900 weekly cases. Look at Chile. This thick red line is 2020 flu cases. And then this is previous years. New Zealand, same thing. New Zealand is next to zero. It's like dead. There's no flu cases. Paraguay, look at that. Nothing. South Africa, nothing. And then 2015 to 2019. Look at those. 2015 to 2019 in New Zealand, those flu cases were off the charts. So, there you go. Proves me right. I anticipated this. I predicted this. I think a lot of people may have done it, but I fucking called it. I'm a hero. Everyone should thank me. I want everyone in the chat room to thank me right now. Or I'm going to ban you if you don't thank me. Everyone should thank me right now. Guys think I'm playing? I'll fucking ban you. I don't give a shit. Also, I'm about to end the stream. There was some other stuff I was going to cover, but that's about it. I wanted to cover just at the tail end, the COVID shit. You're welcome, Pie Sniper. You're welcome, Corey Butler. Twitch13, you're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, that's what I like to see. Yeah. Yeah, everybody thank him. Oh, man, this is great. I like to see this. This is great. Here, let me add a, let me put this on the screen so you guys can see. You guys can see, see all the people thanking me. This is pretty fun. All right. Good. Keep thanking me. Keep thanking me. I didn't say stop. I'll fucking ban you. I don't give a shit. Alright, anyway guys, I should probably end the stream here. There's a lot of shit I wanted to cover tonight. I think I covered most of it. Hope you guys got something out of it. Probably not, because, I mean, that GE guy and Dirty Qwerty or whatever was an idiot. But, Ivork says, Discord win. I have a Discord. I don't have the link for it, though. Alright, anyway. Psygnostic says, ban me, bitch. You know, you don't think I will? I'll fucking ban you. I don't give a shit. Blaze says, bring back best debate. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to do more news. I like doing the news. I think people enjoy it. Oh, here's what I was going to ask. So somebody in the chat room, if you go through this video and put timestamps in the comments of when I talk about certain topics or whatever, kind of like I did on the last Maddox news video I did, I would appreciate it. I'll give you credit, or I'll pin the comment or whatever, just so people know what the timestamps are for this news broadcast. It's only an hour, just an hour and 10 minutes long, so it's not that bad. So, no, I'm not gonna. Now you guys are asking me to ban you. I'm not gonna fucking ban you. I do when I want, not when you want. I'll ban you on my schedule, not yours. Zachary says, when can we expect your BLM video? I don't know, Zachary. It's been like such a long time coming. I really got to get it done, though. John Grant says, update your fucking site. Yeah, John, I got to get that done, too. Blaze says, can you please stream the Trump and Biden debates? I will. Most likely be doing a Trump and Biden debate stream, for sure. I'll be doing that. And, yeah. That's about it, guys. I should probably sign off now. Kid says, 420 from Seattle. Good night, Ms. Vero. Pie Sniper says, fuck yeah. All right, guys. The Quantum Todd says, can you dab real quick? I can, but I'm not going to. Sean says, thanks, asshole. You're welcome. Debate night with Maddox. Anyway, guys, I'll be doing more of these. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and stuff. Give me the timestamps if you got them. Hope you guys learned something. I doubt it, though. No one's as smart as me. Spread the word. I'll be doing more of these streams. Also, check out on Twitch. Follow me on Twitch. I've been doing streams every 3 times a week with my relatives. My uncle, Oxmad, who's a cowboy. My nephew, Banana Docs, and my niece, Maddie Locks. So, check that shit out. I'll be back soon. We'll do some more news coming up. And I gotta say, guys, from the bottom of my heart,